item is that we will be using the Q&A function for questions throughout the evening. So please feel free to ask questions throughout our presentation. We will be doing our best job to answer most of the questions live via audio, but we will also be typing behind the scenes. And if you could ask questions that are pertinent to all 6 of our colleges, those are the ones that we'll really be trying to address to make sure that we are getting the most information out to everyone. So the numbers are still climbing, so bear with me as we wait another few seconds here. All right, that's amazing numbers that we're seeing here. And thank you to those who have already started typing in some questions in the Q&A. We know that that function is working. Okay, so it looks like we're finally leveling off. So welcome again from wherever in the world or country you are joining us. Before we really get started with our conversation, I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the many ways that this year continues to present challenges and add to the exhaustion, the stress, and the uncertainty. The last few weeks have brought even more heartbreak as we've seen violence against Asian Americans here in the US, the killings of 2 more young Black men, and the testimony that has recounted the death of George Floyd. No words can capture the fear, the anger, and the grief that so many across our nation, as well as the world, feel about what we see on the news daily. These have been incredibly difficult days and months, so we want to make sure that you understand the importance of self-care. If that means signing off early tonight, please do so. We are recording this session and it will be made available on the 6 College website. But our hope tonight is that we're able to alleviate a little bit of the stress and uncertainty you might be feeling as you start your college search during this unusual year. Our 6 individual schools are committed to doing our part to provide information that's going to empower you as you embark on this part of your college search. So with that, I wanted to make sure that we also introduced ourselves. So my name is Claudia Marroquin, and I'm the Director of Admissions at Bowdoin College, which is located in Brunswick, Maine. And I'm going to hand it off to Kate to introduce herself.
Thanks, Claudia. Hi, my name is Kate Zolkis. I'm Dean of Admission at Amherst College, which is in Amherst, Massachusetts, which is Western Massachusetts. Joel, you're up next.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joel Hart. I'm the Senior Associate Dean of Admissions and Director of Operations at Pomona College in Claremont, California, which is 35 miles straight east of Los Angeles. And we'll pass it to my friend Adam at Carleton.
Thanks, Joel. Hi, everyone. My name is Adam Webster. I'm the Director of Admissions at Carleton College in Northfield, Minnesota. That's just outside the Twin Cities to the south. And let's hear from Swarthmore.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrew Moe. I am Director of Admissions here at Swarthmore College in Swarthmore, Pennsylvania, which is 11 miles southwest of the city of Philadelphia. And last but not least, Solgi.
Hi, everybody. My name is Solgi Lim. I'm the Director of Admission at Williams College in Northwestern Massachusetts, and we're also excited to be here. So typically this group of colleges is a pretty modest one, but today we're going to brag a little and make the bold claim that we believe our 6 colleges are among the very best schools that you could attend anywhere in the world. And whether you have some familiarity with our schools or you just don't know much about us, we hope that what we share today helps you understand why we feel that way.
Thanks, Solgi. Let's start with some of the basics. Our schools specialize in providing first-rate undergraduate education. Our resources are dedicated to educating 18 to 22-year-olds, ensuring that they thrive during their time in college and preparing them to be the leaders they want to be when they're ready to get out in the world. It is the reason we exist, whether it's our teaching-driven professors in classroom spaces, our updated facilities like libraries, labs, and music practice rooms, to take one example, or resources like counseling services or the Career Center. Everything and everyone is committed to providing an exceptional undergraduate experience. This takes commitment and focus and it also takes a significant investment. As a collection of colleges, we're fortunate to have the financial resources that allow us to spend more dollars per undergraduate student each year than nearly any other college or university in the United States. As a model of higher education, this is an enormous opportunity and responsibility, and it is globally distinct. Our financial resources allow us to build academic programs that are equally strong across the board, from the arts all the way through the STEM fields. We can keep our classrooms small, and we offer exceptional financial support to help our students dream big. At our schools, you can focus on being a student because undergraduate education is what we do really, really well. Doggy, mute.
Sorry about that, been talking to myself. So you might have heard that liberal arts colleges are small, and we absolutely are. We think there's something about our small size combined with the tremendous resources that we have that make us truly special. Our campuses are intentionally small, diverse, and residential. And at our schools, each student really matters. Just to give you a point of comparison, you may have heard of UCLA, a very well-known public research university in California, where my husband is from. UCLA enrolls 42,000 undergraduate students. Each of our 6 schools has between 1,600 to 2,200 students in total. And we all work really hard in our admission offices to bring to our campus students who are really diverse across racial and ethnic and socioeconomic backgrounds, who have really wide-ranging beliefs and interests, and who come from many different places in the US and abroad to come to our campuses and to live and learn across difference. We really believe that this diversity within our student body enhances the learning experience for every single student on campus, and feel so lucky to have incredibly generous financial aid programs that make our schools affordable for low-income students and their families. We also believe that some of the most important lessons, that you'll learn in college will take place outside of the classroom. At our schools, our students live together on campus, and so learning begins in the classroom, but it continues throughout the day as you share meals with professors in the dining hall or have late night conversations in the dorms with friends who are really different from you. And you'll never just be a number. If you come to one of our schools, your experiences, your perspectives, and your voice will truly matter.
And because of our strong reputations as academic institutions, we're able to attract faculty who are both world-class researchers in their respective fields and also outstanding teachers and educators. Our professors will have manageable teaching loads and teach in manageable classrooms, usually less than 20 students. They'll rely on you to work with them as apprentice scholars on research projects or an animated conversation during office hours. There are no TAs here. And they're also going to want to get to know you as a real person. They're invested in your success in class and beyond, and they'll become part of your life to realize that. You'll see them at a dance performance, an athletic event, or on Saturday morning at the local coffee shop. You'll probably stay in touch with them even long after you graduate.
So you've heard a little bit about our professors. Let's switch gears now and talk about the curriculum. All of us structure our curricula so that students are able to develop very deep knowledge within their major, but also get a broad educational foundation by taking courses in many different academic subjects across the humanities, the social sciences, and natural sciences. In doing this, our students become intellectually flexible. They're able to make connections across different subjects. They're able to examine topics and issues from multiple perspectives. And they learn how to communicate really well with people in different majors because everybody is taking classes outside of their own major. Why is this useful? It's because our society's most pressing challenges require leaders who can be flexible thinkers and who can be skilled at bringing together and leading teams of people who have very different areas of expertise. We talked earlier about our schools being small. Well, our classes are also intentionally small, and they're more often than not taught in discussion or seminar format. In our world today, so much information is readily available, readily accessible, but information is just the starting point. The challenge really lies in making sense of it and to make connections and to understand complexity and to have an informed opinion. At each of our 6 colleges, you'll be asked your opinion in a computer science class just as often as you'll be asked in an English class. And through this repeated practice of sharing your opinion, discussing ideas, sometimes disagreeing with your peers, you'll become an even stronger critical thinker, even more excellent communicator than you are now. And finally, writing. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention it. At all of our schools, regardless of your major, you'll be doing a lot of writing across the curriculum to become an even stronger writer, an even better written communicator than you already are.
We talked a little bit about our communities being small in size earlier. There might be something about that that informs a shared culture across our 6 schools. At each of our colleges, we foster collaborative learning, a spirited sense that we learn better together than apart. Promoting collaborative campus climate is a shared responsibility, but it's so important. Our students learn that their voices are and should be heard, and that they have a critical role to play solving tough problems, whether that's on a homework set or in the community at large. This breeds confidence to engage with rigorous learning and to look out for the social and emotional well-being of all community members at our campuses.
So you might be asking yourself now, but what can I do with the liberal arts education? The answer is truly anything. Our goal is to develop and equip our students to be ethical and thoughtful and successful citizens and leaders in a wide range of fields and in a world that is becoming increasingly fast-paced, interconnected, complex, and unpredictable. And I think this past year taught us all how unpredictable the world truly can be. Our curriculum is not pre-professional or vocation-oriented, but at each of our 6 schools, we have tremendous Career Center resources that are dedicated to helping our students identify their interests and strengths, explore career opportunities early and frequently throughout their 4 years, and then to launch into a wide range of careers. One of the other benefits of being small is that we have fiercely loyal alumni who have an incredibly strong sense of commitment to the student body and who want to help you succeed in their fields and offer internship and job opportunities to our students. As a result, within 6 months of graduation, nearly all of our graduates are employed in graduate school or pursuing service opportunities and really fulfilled in what they're doing.
And finally, we constantly refine what we do. One of the very best parts of working at our institutions is that we are genuinely responsive to the needs of our students. We constantly center and then recenter again our curriculum and co-curriculum in the high impact practices that we see deliver the best outcomes. Now, there's too many of these to list right here, but there's a reason we're all offering robust first year seminars, that we mandate writing intensive coursework and hands-on research. Similarly, it shouldn't surprise you that we lean into collaborative project work and expect growing global awareness and cultural competencies from all members of our community, student or otherwise. What we do for a reason. Our data shows it makes you a better student, community member, and paves the way to the life you want to lead.
Thank you, Solgi and Adam. So it's no secret that the college search process can be really stressful. Collectively, between the 6 of us, we have a lot of experience. So consider this session sort of insider knowledge. We want you to be successful in the college search process. But how do you navigate this search in a productive and informative way and maintain healthy relationships with your family and friends? Begin with being open-minded and adopt a willingness to ask yourself questions. Joel will share helpful advice on what you might want to consider.
Yeah, and this process of knowing yourself should help you start identifying some pros and cons of a variety of different institutional types out there. I think all of us would say there are no good or bad schools. There's no way to condense the 4,000-ish colleges and universities in this country into a rank ordered list that you can then read about in a third-rate news magazine. That's not possible. But instead, you have to think of the college search process as a series of trade-offs. Take size, right? You've already heard all of us, and we'll continue to hear us sort of extol the value of the small college experience. And we obviously truly believe in that. It means you get to bring your intellectual A game every single day. There's no back row in which to hide when you're sitting around a seminar table with 10 classmates and a professor. But there may be days in college when you want the back row that a larger institution would provide. Lectures aren't necessarily better or worse than seminars. They're just different. And that's a trade-off. You may decide you crave the hustle and bustle of an urban institution with everything that comes with that. That may mean, however, that you won't have the traditional campus space or the same kind of residential experience that institutions like ours offer. Again, neither one is wrong, but they represent a trade-off. So as you take stock of who you are and what it means for you to feel a sense of belonging in the community next year, start translating that into the sorts of values you expect the institutions you explore to have. Ask yourself, how do I learn best? What sorts of relationships do I want to have with the people who will teach me? How do I envision living in community with my peers? Do I want a school that's geographically diverse? Do I want one that comprises people who are closer to home like me? Understand that no one place is perfect, and there's never going to be any one school that is perfect for you. There are always going to be trade-offs, and part of what you'll spend the next year doing is assessing what's most important to you in your undergraduate home. One area where we hope you won't have to think about trade-offs is affordability. And affordability is obviously an important topic as you begin looking ahead to the college search process. Now is the time to start having honest conversations as a family about paying for college. What monies are available to you to finance your education? Do you have a college savings plan? Are the tuition benefits available through a parent's workplace? Do you have other siblings who are in college or will be attending later? These are the types of questions you need to begin asking to determine what is a realistic amount your family can pay for your education. And knowing what your family's financial capabilities are can help you start narrowing down the schools that you might consider. We would say that while it's important to have these conversations, it's also important to understand that the price you see on the window sticker, as it were, may not be the price you'd actually pay at any of our institutions. Institutions like ours are committed to keeping college affordable for our students and their families. That means most of our students aren't paying the full price of attendance. Instead, we will help meet families' need through our financial aid offerings. So what I'm going to do is give you a few basic terms to add to your dictionary as you start investigating colleges. You can use them to ask questions of the schools that you ultimately end up considering. You may have heard some of these, you may not have, but just to break it all down for you, which is this. Roughly, colleges will divide their financial aid into two kinds. There's need-based aid, which is based on a family's financial circumstances. And there's merit-based aid, which could be awarded for a strong academic record or the overall strength of your application. And many, but not all, colleges and universities offer merit scholarships, but they might have a separate application. They might have a different priority deadline. Those things can vary, and you'll have to investigate that for each of the schools to which you're applying. There may be local scholarships you can investigate. Your local Rotary Club, for example, might offer a small scholarship. It's just for local students for which you can apply. But need-based aid gets a little more complicated. There are a few more distinctions we can draw there. An institution might say that it is need blind or that it doesn't consider need, which means that a college doesn't consider whether you're applying for financial aid or how much aid you need when reviewing your application. The counterpoint to that are institutions that are need aware, which means that your family's need might affect your admissibility at those institutions. Asking a school which they are, whether they're need blind or they don't consider need, or whether they're need aware, is a great place to start. The kind of need-based aid that's available can vary pretty widely. It might be grant money that's not expected to be repaid. It could include a packaged loan that you'd have to repay to a lender when you graduate. One of the things you can do to get an idea about what's available to you at any particular school is to go to a school's website and look for something called their net price calculator. It's a web tool that will allow you to plug in your family's income information and get an estimate of what you could expect to pay at that individual school. One other resource I will direct you to is something called myintuition.org, which partners with 70+ private and public institutions to provide a quick 6-question financial aid estimate. Great place to start. You can plug in your information once and go back and forth between different schools and get some estimates of aid awards there. And I will turn it back over to Kate because I know she has some thoughts on what that investment in your education can actually lead to.
Thanks, Joel. Yeah, so here we are talking about jump-starting the college search process, right? And I'm going to jump even farther ahead and touch upon post-college outcomes. So from the first week on campus, new students at each of our institutions are encouraged and even incentivized to explore our career centers. As a foundation of liberal arts education, Solgi already spoke about a deeper set of values, the ability to write effectively and argue persuasively and solve problems, adapt and learn. So employers really value these skills. Adam shared that we invest our resources in helping students pursue career interests outside of the classroom. So our students expect to take advantage of summer internship opportunities over at least one summer. We also mentioned that without graduate students, you are our singular focus. So our faculty across the curriculum are all engaged in research, and they turn to our students to help them with their research. It's not at all unusual for our students to be co-authors with our faculty. And then senior year, oftentimes our students will elect to engage in their own original research in the form of a senior thesis. So this in turn makes our students top graduate school prospects. So like, okay, what do you do next?
One next step is to start figuring out how to engage with the schools in which you're interested. We are certainly cognizant that it's hard right now to know how best to engage with colleges. It's difficult to make plans to visit. And as much as we enjoy doing virtual programs like this, we know they don't always have the same impact as seeing campuses for yourself. So we'll encourage you to use the resources you do have to get to know schools as much as you can. That might mean sitting through a few more webinars over the course of the next few months, but look to see what other opportunities exist. You might be able to do a virtual tour. You might be able to meet a current student for a one-on-one Zoom call. Take advantage of programs like this one that will allow you to hear from multiple schools at once. And then as the world reopens in the summer and into the fall, we hope you'll be able to get out and see our beautiful campuses. And I know Kate has some thoughts on how now on how you can best set yourself up for success as you look ahead to the application process.
Thanks, Joel. So while you're exploring colleges, both virtually and hopefully physically soon, you also should begin to think about what goes into the application process itself. I am not suggesting that you start filling out an application today. In fact, the Common Application, which is accepted by over 900 different colleges and universities, isn't even available till August. But what you can do is you can begin to think about different parts of the application, such as teacher recommendations, counselor evaluations, class selection for the fall, and essays. And I'll touch very briefly on each of those. So let's start with teacher recommendations. We read those very closely, and they give us a good sense about you in context of the classroom. So are you engaged? Do you ask questions? When the material becomes challenging, do you seek help and advice from your teachers? And by the way, this is a big hint. We are really encouraged when we read that from your teachers. Think about what teachers might be able to give us the best insight into you as the full range of the student you are. So that might not be from the teacher from whom you earned, an easy A. In fact, if you found a class challenging and demonstrated tenacity and an outstanding work ethic in order to earn a good grade, that teacher might be a good candidate to write your letter. Let the teacher know why you're asking them. Was it their teaching style? Was it your learning style? Was it the material? Was there a specific moment in class that you can share with the teacher that might be helpful in writing the letter of recommendation? They will be more receptive to writing a letter if you ask them well before the deadline. And counselor recommendations can also lend additional perspective to an applicant, although increasingly some counselors are unable to write letters of support because their caseloads are simply too large. If this is the case at your school, don't worry. We have your teacher recommendations to review. If your counselor can write on your behalf, make sure they know who you are, introduce yourself, share your interests with them. If there's a blemish on your academic record, the counselor is often a really good sort of neutral person to put that blemish in context and to explain the situation. So by the time some students start their senior year of high school, they've completed many of their graduation requirements. However, you should continue to take challenging classes in the core subjects. So that would be English, math, science, history, and a language. Counselors are actually asked to rate their students' curricular choices ranging from below average to most demanding. Do not let up with your classes or your grades. We'll notice. Essays are the next thing I'll mention briefly, and they can be the source, I think, of the most anxiety because it's something that you have complete control over. And while essays are a really important part of the application, just to reassure you, very few essays get a student into college and very few keep a student out. Most add another layer to your application and demonstrate your ability to write analytically. A good essay takes time and it takes revisions. It's often a response to a writing prompt. So the Common Application, which I mentioned a minute ago, has actually already posted this year's essay prompts. There are 7 choices. Again, you don't have to write the essay tonight, but you should read them well before the application is due. Mull them over and choose the writing prompt that resonates the most with you. There's no right or wrong prompt from which to choose. Some colleges also might ask for a graded paper that you've written while in high school. If you have a graded paper of which you're particularly proud, you might want to consider submitting that if asked. Just make sure you keep track of it now. If you don't have a writing sample that you're excited about, now might be a really good time to write that paper for your next writing assignment. So we hope the information we've discussed shows that with a little bit of planning, you can provide colleges with a snapshot of your best self. Now I'm going to turn it back to Andrew for some questions. I think we have a few.
Boy, do we ever, Kate. We have more than a few. So at this time, if you have questions, please use the Q&A function if you haven't already. We're really going to try to answer questions that pertain to all 6 of us. So unfortunately, we can't answer too many questions around individual colleges. If you have questions for individual colleges, we encourage you, A, to reach out to us individually, and B, to visit our individual websites because we all offer virtual programming at this time, information sessions, campus tours, panels, sessions, etc. So at this time, I'm going to rapid fire some questions so that we can get to all of these questions. Adam, first question, when will you all be open for in-person visits?
Oh man, the tough one, right? So I will do my best. First, everyone, thanks for your incredible patience this year. We too, I think as Joel said earlier, would love the chance to host you on campus, much as we enjoy webinars and getting a chance to get together this way. We'd rather also say hi in person. I think we're all exploring this actively right now and pinpointing dates. The answer here is that we're not going to rush opening because we have a real obligation to the members of our campus community to make sure that they are in a safe space first, and we will open up after that. But I would expect all of us to open up with clearly communicated dates and timelines some point to late summer. I would say later July into early August at the outside, somewhere in that window of time. I reserve the right to say events on the ground dictate a change to that plan, but I think that feels like safe ground. Anyone else on the phone, by all means, correct me. So.
Right, thank you. Next, Kate, how do your institutions support students that are interested in pursuing advanced degrees in medicine or other STEM fields?
That's a great question. So it is almost counterintuitive unless you have a better sense of a liberal arts college, and clearly the person is asking this question does, they wouldn't be asking it. So you think liberal arts, why would you go to a school like that to do science or to do STEM or to be a physician or a veterinarian or anything like that? And the truth of the matter is, as I had mentioned earlier, because we do not have graduate students, our faculty, including our STEM faculty, are engaged in research, and they need our students to do that research. So when my son was in his PhD program, he worked directly with the primary researcher, with the faculty, right? And he had undergraduates report to him. He might be a great professor someday, but don't tell him I said this, not today. So I would encourage you all, if you're thinking about a STEM career or going into graduate school, if you want to get that one-on-one experience with faculty and be at that cutting edge, these liberal arts colleges are a great place to do that. We also have ways to support students who might not have had that research exposure before coming to college. And what you really need to bring with you in order to be successful in any field in our colleges, but particularly in doing research, is a sense of curiosity, a willingness to ask questions. And research is never done. In fact, what research does is it encourages you to ask more questions. So if you come with that kind of mindset and that attitude, our faculty will be delighted to work with you. And those opportunities happen during the academic year, but also during the summer. And there also could be opportunities to do research outside of our colleges in the summer. So there's a ton of opportunity to do research in the STEM field, sciences, and other fields too.
Great, thank you, Kate. Solgi, next question is for you. What do you think is a common misconception about liberal arts colleges?
I often hear students talk about liberal arts majors, and at our 6 schools, we really think about liberal arts as an educational philosophy, not a set of areas that you're asked to study. We offer classes in social sciences, in humanities, in natural sciences. We offer a really broad curriculum at each of our schools, and the philosophy is to encourage exploration. So that's really what our schools are about, not a certain set of majors that I think oftentimes get conflated with the humanities or the social sciences only.
Great, thanks, Solgi. We have several questions around test optional, so I'm going to pass this over to Joel. Are all of you going to be test optional for next year? What does test optional actually mean? Are students with scores at an advantage? Are students without scores at a disadvantage?
Great questions all. We know this is a complicated and potentially confusing issue for lots of students. So all 6 of us will be test optional for the fall 22 application cycle. Some beyond that, and those policies can shift in the future, but at least for applicants applying for fall 2022 entry, we're all going to be test optional. Test optional means that submitting the results of the SAT or the ACT is optional. It is an option. It is not required. It is not secretly required. It is not recommended. It is test optional. It is an option that you can complete if you can complete it. We understand that lots of students will not be able to. We'll circle back to that in a second. But if you're able to complete it and you want to send those scores to us, they will be evaluated as part of your application. We'll see them along with all the other information that you send us. We'll weigh them in the context of everything that you're going to provide. For none of us are they the driving, determining factor of our admissions processes. We're much more interested in taking a very holistic approach to this. It's not a test score isn't a great measure of your ability to succeed for 4 years. But we do use them in the process if you send us those scores. If you don't send us those scores, we aren't secretly second guessing in our offices about why you didn't. Oh, Adam comes from a school where they almost certainly could have taken the SAT. I wonder why he didn't send us the scores. Maybe they were just bad. We're not in the business of trying to play that game. That's not how we're approaching this. We are reading these and then trying to understand them. We've just taken that one data point out of our admissions process and are relying on all the other things that you send us. So we're not recommending them, we're not requiring them. They are an option that you can pursue, but that you don't have to this year.
Great, thank you, Joel. Claudia, you're up next. In general, how welcoming is the social atmosphere for LGBTQ students at your schools?
Yeah, great question. And I think all of our schools, regardless of any student's individual identity, are really committed to making sure that students feel like they belong on our campuses. There are going to be a number of different resource centers for students to take advantage of. whether it's LGBTQ centers, women's centers, multicultural resource centers. We want students to bring their full selves to our campus and to really feel that they can be themselves and explore the identities that they may not have had the opportunity to do so in their high school experiences. This means that, again, there are going to be a number of advisors and resources, but we also recognize that we are not perfect institutions. We're always working to ensure that we are meeting the changing needs of our students and adapting to what our students' needs might be. I will also highlight that later in May, we're actually going to be having 2 more events that are going to be looking at a diversity spectrum and how students who might be first generation to college, low income students, or students who might identify from underrepresented backgrounds. So again, thinking about diversity on a much larger scale, that we'll be able to have a conversation with students who might identify in those various ways for sessions in May. So I'd encourage you to look at that. But again, our schools are committed to our students and to making sure that you can take advantage of everything we offer, but also to be yourself on our campuses.
Great, thanks, Claudia. I'm going to take the next question. Is there a Veteran Affairs rep on campus who could help with military-related issues and paperwork? Absolutely. All of us have individual points of contact, and that is something that we all commit to. We also can answer any questions you might have if you start with the admissions office, and we can point you in the right direction, and certainly get your questions answered. We want military connected students, veterans on our campuses, right? We think that the perspective that students bring really add value to our classrooms. And so if that's you, or if it's someone that you know, please direct them directly to us and we can answer those individual questions. Thanks so much for that question. Next, Adam, what is the difference between a university and a college? Sometimes we make these assumptions that folks know, right?
Yeah, we do. And it's a totally fair question, in part because depending on where you come from in the world, these things connote different things to you. Like, you have to sort of think through what this means. But in the American context broadly, there's not a radically big difference between college and universities. It's generally a matter of nomenclature. I will say colleges like us here tend to be smaller compared to larger university systems. A college is sort of a school, like a sort of cluster of related departments and faculty and students that are studying similar areas. Everyone here today represents a liberal arts college. Many state flagship universities actually have a College of the Liberal Arts that is nested inside of a larger university program, and universities are actually a collection of colleges together. We would be universities if we had actual other colleges with us, but in fact, we are sealed and closed as a College of Liberal Arts only. That's sort of the central point of differentiation, I think, at this moment in time. It also means that everyone here is getting an undergraduate degree. Very few places with the name college affixed to them actually grant graduate degrees, though that's not an ironclad rule. It's just a general sort of operational principle. So not entirely the case, but if you're looking at that and you're looking at a college, you should expect smaller classroom learning environments, and I think a more intimate relationship with the staff and faculty and students who populate that place. So hope that's a good starting point for everyone.
Great, thank you. Next question is for Kate. Is there something specific we should be focusing on now for the college application process? This is our junior Jumpstart, right? Where should students be at this point?
Great question. And during the pandemic, it could your opportunities might be a little bit different now because maybe you're learning remotely still, but maybe a lot of you are back in school. So I think what you should focus on is what interests you the most. I think to engage in high school activities because you think they're going to look good for college is not what any of us would recommend. If you are able to do activities outside of classes, we spend a lot of time talking about academics, but we're also looking for students who will contribute to our colleges in any number of ways, whether it's volunteering or singing. And you don't have to be a music major to sing or be involved in our musical opportunities. So just being engaged with other people, which is weird to say as we're all doing this virtually, right? But being engaged with others to add to the community of the colleges. And focus on your academics, because what we're going to all look at the most closely is your transcript. And that includes not only your grades, but the classes that you have selected in the context of what's available to you. Now, there are a lot of questions about testing, and somebody asked, should I take the test? And no, you don't. We're test optional, and that really means test optional. If you do take the test and you don't like your scores and you feel like your transcript and other things reflect your potential as a student, then you don't have to submit the tests. So there's no wink wink. That's absolutely honest and true. This summer, think a lot about colleges. And I think, as we've tried to suggest, explore colleges, trying to find out which school's a good fit for you. That's probably your biggest assignment. And again, it's challenging now with COVID and travel restrictions, but in some ways there are many, many more opportunities to look at schools virtually. You don't get the same sense. I mean, we all have beautiful backgrounds, right? But you don't get the sense of what our schools are like by looking at the pictures. I think my internet has frozen.
No, you're
I'll stop
good.
there.
We heard
You
you.
see me? Okay, good. I look frozen here. So I think I'll start with that. So also breathe. It should be a fun process and a process of self-exploration and self-reflection, trying to decide, as Joel was suggesting, big schools, small schools, urban schools, rural schools. There's a lot to think about, but it should be a fun process.
Great, thanks, Kate. Next, Solgi. We often throw these terms around like work study. Sometimes that's federal work study, sometimes that's campus job. Do students work part-time or full-time?
A great question. We've been talking a lot about the resources that our 6 colleges have. And part of that is because the resources that we have actually allow us to provide financial aid packages that preclude the need for working many, many, many hours, whether that's on campus or off campus. My husband worked 40 hours a week as a college student, and so he had to pick his college courses around his work schedule. None of our students at our 6 colleges have to do that. We really limit the number of work study hours that you need to make in order to help contribute towards the cost of your education. And a lot of that money that you'll make through work study actually goes into your own pocket to pay for things like meals with friends and laundry on campus and that kind of thing.
Great, thank you. Next, Joel, this is for you. If the application fee poses a financial hardship for my family, will these colleges waive my application fee? Are there other ways you all try to help low-income students in the admissions process?
An easy yes to the first question. The application platforms that we use will ask you to, one of the things you can do is indicate on those platforms if you're requesting a waiver of the application fee. So if you're using the common application or you're using, for example, the coalition application, you can indicate on there that paying the application fee would represent a hardship. Sometimes they might ask you to submit some additional documentation or check different boxes, but in general, pardon me, in general, we will waive that fee pretty easily for students who request it, understanding that the fee should not be a barrier for students who are applying to college. So we want to make sure that stays affordable. All of our institutions offer in the before times, if nothing else, offered fly-in programs, typically targeted at, for example, low-income students to help them. If they couldn't afford the cost of a plane ticket to visit our campus, then they could apply to these programs, and we would contribute to sort of fly them to campus, let them stay on campus for a few days, see classes, live with other students, and be able to sort of engage with the campus visit experience. Because again, flying to campus can be cost prohibitive, and we understand that. Things like that, and I would say not just at our institutions, but at the institutions to which you're considering. Investigate, ask them about waiving application fees, ask them about fly-in programs, get ahead of that now, especially during the summer. And there might be an application that is to our fly-in program that's actually due August 15th. And if you don't ask till September, it's too late. So start thinking about those things during the summer at institutions. We hope that we'll be able to have students flying to campus again this fall. We don't know, but we're hopeful.
Great, thank you. Claudia, up next. We have several questions asking us what division we're in within athletics and the NCAA. are athletes recruited at our colleges, and how are athletics considered in the admissions process?
Yeah, lots of questions there. So all three of our schools participate in Division III athletics. Three of us are actually in the same athletic league. And I think the important thing here is that whether you're an athlete or any other interest that you might be pursuing or hoping to be able to engage with outside of the classroom, there's going to be a space for students. And whether athletics is considered in the process, I always speak generally about this. Every talent is considered in the admissions process, whether it's an athletic one or a musical talent, research talent. Again, we're looking for a vibrant community that will then be part of our entire campus. For those of you who might be interested in athletics, I always do suggest that students be in touch with the coaches at each of the schools to really understand what the coaching philosophy of that particular person and that team might be, but also what particular needs a coach might have. In any given year, they might be graduating a goalie, and goalies are really going to be what that coach is pursuing. So you want to make sure that you're having conversations with coaches. But again, understand that yes, students are going to be recruited, but in the admissions world, we're looking at talents and how that's defined across the board. And we're always going to have needs for athletes, for musicians, for actors, for scientists, you name it, anything that you find on our campus will be considered through the application process.
Great, thank you. Next question I'll take. Can you talk about the study abroad programs and if they will be offered? Good question. Some of this is outside of our control, right? We don't have control over whether or not we can leave the country, folks can come back to the country. It's really tough right now. We all offer study abroad programs, right, in non-pandemic times. Sometimes some of those are starting to start up again. Some of those are going to be on hold. It might be another semester, it might be another year. All of us might have slightly different things to say about that. But generally, yes, we highly encourage you, if you have that ability, to study abroad for a semester, for the year, maybe on a faculty-led trip that many of us offer as well for a few weeks. Maybe it's your first time abroad and it's super scary to go abroad by yourself. We offer some options for you, right? Many of us will also use your financial aid so that you can study abroad if that might be a barrier for you. And so we highly encourage you to explore those options. Many of us will have, rates 30 to 50% or so of our students studying abroad by the time they graduate. And it's an opportunity for you to really grow. Some of our students will do major coursework abroad. Some will free up some electives and go study art history in Italy or Paris or something. So know that it is very flexible at liberal arts colleges. We have a lot of offerings, a lot of partnerships, as well as homegrown programs by our faculty. So thanks for the question. Next, Adam, do you all prefer well-rounded students, well-angled students, or completely undecided students in the admissions process?
Yes, we do. The answer there is we don't have a preference one way or the other, though I totally understand where the question comes from. So I don't mean to belittle, but the answer, and part of the joy of our work as admissions personnel, is sort of imagining the different blends of interests and inclinations and sort of paths that might be carved post graduation into the world, and trying to configure the right mix to form a campus community. We need a little of all of those things. We need the well-rounded proto-liberal arts student who's very excited to sort of take things from very different areas and attempt to shoehorn them together. We like people who are in an advanced track in certain areas, sort of pursuing something with unusual aptitude and passion. And then we are, if I may be so bold, exceptionally good places for students who are still trying to figure out what they want to do. There's no shame in that. I think we fully expect and mandate our students take a couple years to explore our curriculum. We won't let you declare a major until towards the end of your second year anyways. So seize that. Take the time to try on versions of yourself you've never done before, and you'll be surprised what you find. I think all of us can tell you stories of students who they admitted believing them to be, say, a biology major, and 3 years later, you find out that they're deep into religious studies or something like that. That's the joy of our work and why our institutions exist to do what they do. So hope that's a helpful starting point in that conversation. No wrong answers or paths to our places.
Great, thank you. Solgi, do our schools have theater or musical theater or performing arts, visual arts, right? Sort of these types of programs for students who don't want to major in those areas?
Absolutely. One of the amazing things about being at a liberal arts college is, again, that you can explore really broadly. So you could be a math major who decides to audition for your very first play, or you might be a theater major who has always known you wanted to be on the stage. That's the beauty of our schools, that you get to interact with students from a wide range of academic interests and backgrounds in the classroom, but also in your co-curricular opportunities. That's kind of a long-winded way of saying yes. Whether or not you decide to major in a subject area, you'll be able to pursue performing arts opportunities on our campuses. And you can, again, take classes throughout the curriculum, regardless of what your major is.
Great, thank you. Claudia, once a student has maybe declared a major or maybe put something on the application and they want to change their mind, how easy is it for them to do so at our colleges?
Pretty easy. And that's the beauty of liberal arts institutions, that to begin with, we don't expect you to know exactly what it is that you want to do or to have the entire plan figured out. If you have an inkling of where your academic interests might be, you can certainly list that on the application. But we're admitting you because we see talent across your academics, but also who you are as a person and what you might bring to our campus community. So again, you're applying to our college, not to a specific program or major. Once you're on our campuses, all 6 of our schools ask students to declare a major sometime in their sophomore year. So you really do have about a year and a half to explore broadly, to take classes that may not have been offered at your high school, to really sample and have these amazing moments of discovery, to realize that your high school may not have offered a philosophy course. You don't know if philosophy might be the thing that you love to do and want to really major in. And all of our schools will also have academic advisors that help you navigate these big choices and big decisions that you'll be making. And your advisors will also really push you to step outside your comfort zone, to take a course that you think might not be related to the interests you might have. And then you're going to have that aha moment that might completely change your trajectory. Once you've declared your major, there's still even time to make some changes. Sometimes students will have a study abroad experience, and then they come back and want to add a major. As long as you have time to complete the requirements, there will be processes for that. Typically, students are pretty much done making changes to their majors or minors sometime in the beginning of their senior year. So again, flexibility is the name of the game at any of our schools, but you're also going to have a lot of support and advising to really make sure you're making the right choices for yourself.
Great, thank you, Claudia. Next, Joel, this is a really important question. What are the mental health resources available at our colleges, and what steps are colleges taking during this time and in general to support students' mental health?
Yeah, that is an important question. All of our institutions are going to provide access to student health services and counseling services as part of that, making those available to students on campus and potentially even in the local area as well, as a way to make sure that students are getting the sort of mental health support that they need while they're on campus. Again, sort of assuming in the on-campus, the resumption of on-campus life. And currently, I know all of us are thinking about, and I know all of our faculty are thinking about, how do we continue to ensure that students are taking care of themselves and keeping themselves healthy in an era when that's a little more difficult to do. And I know that that's something that our faculty have thought about and have been thinking about all year long. And it's been a matter of connecting students to virtual resources and virtual mental health resources if they couldn't pursue those in their local areas, and making sure that those things continue to be available to students. If they've had practitioners that they've had relationships with, making sure that they were still able to connect to those people remotely during the year, for example. So, but obviously, it's been at the front of mind for lots of folks on our campuses these last 14 months.
Great, thank you. I'll take the next question. We've talked a little bit about undergraduate research and the ability to do that research, but someone asked, how do you find these undergraduate research projects? Well, you might not find them. You might come up with them on your own. So we really want to afford you the ability to develop your own research projects, work alongside faculty, work with faculty on their projects as a research assistant. You might be able to receive a stipend in order to do research on campus during the summer so that you can pay rent and food and these sorts of things, or just put some money in your pocket and get some research experience. So that's the really wonderful thing about our colleges that emphasize undergraduate education, is that you are able to take advantage of these opportunities versus competing with PhDs and graduate students for these opportunities. All right. Next question. Adam, I think this is pretty common. Last year I had straight A's and then COVID happened and I actually went, pass fail. How do I showcase this on my application?
Oh yeah, this is a common question and a totally fair question. How do you present academic success in a situation where a lot of things changed, or B, where the high school transcript has changed the way it presents information to you? I think I would start by saying that it's actually our job to sort of understand how your high school is handling the response to the pandemic and necessary adjustments by your school board, school district, whatever, to that in terms of how they communicate their transcript information to us. We expect that you're doing just fine. One way to indicate that, if you had straight A's, is by continuing rigorous courses on the same trajectory. That tells us you're doing great work. The other thing to keep in mind is something that I think makes our institutions really fun, is that we are small enough to actually deal with your application at a pretty personal level. We're going to contact your school and maybe your counselor if we have questions about your performance and make sure everything's going okay. We're going to read with some, generosity and grace, as the last year has definitely called for. But that also shows up in the way that we have sort of approached our students' academic performances in this window of time. We still have sort of really high expectations for the students who are in our pipeline, but we are not inhuman. I promise you, we are reading to make sure that you are in a position to succeed and thrive on our college campuses. And we understand just how challenging this last year has been in so many different ways. So take heart. We'll reach out and follow up with your schools if we have questions about what your transcript is communicating to us. So great question.
Great, thank you. Solgi, for maybe out-of-state students coming from far away, international students, during holidays or school breaks, are we expected to go back home? Can we stay on campus? Do you require that we leave?
That's a great question. So a couple of different things might happen. You might get invited by a friend who lives a little bit more locally to spend holidays with them, maybe go home with them to enjoy a warm meal. Just get a little bit of a break from campus. Or you might choose to stay at all of our schools. We recognize that it's not easy to get to and from campus, especially if you're flying from far away, from outside of the country. So we always make sure that there are opportunities for students to be on campus, especially for those who can't travel home during the holidays or school breaks.
Great. I'll take the last one. Do your colleges offer opportunities, resources, maybe info sessions for first generation students? Well, as a first generation college student myself, and some of us are first gen here on the panel, absolutely. We have resources, we have staff members and centers and people and places that really care about you, both in the admissions process as well as on our campus to get you across the graduation stage. And that is a perfect segue to our next set of navigating and belonging sessions, which are going to occur in May. Please go to 6colleges.org to sign up. We will have different folks from our offices talking about different things like fly-in programs, things like first-gen low-income student support and resources and student emergency funds and scholarships and all of these other things that you might be thinking about, but we didn't have time to answer your question tonight. And we have more than 200 questions still sitting here, so we deeply apologize that we were not able to get to all of them. But thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate your time. We hope that you stay safe and that you are able to partake in both our individual virtual opportunities at all of our campuses, as well as partake in our 6 colleges programming this summer and next fall. Thanks so much and have a great evening wherever you might be.
Good night.
Good night.